Political Magazine has an interesting little article right here, and it's titled, Democrats, did Americans help Russia hack the election? Did Americans help Russia hack the election? Americans. So now they're moving into treason. So they went from interference to collusion to interference to meddling to hacking to collusion to interfere, and then they just keep going back and forth and back and forth, and now they're moving on to treason. It's such a rabbit hole, and there's no substance. Of course, there's never been any substance. It says here in the article, right? It says here, no public evidence has surfaced. No, that's not a thing. You can't just say, oh, there's no public evidence, but hey, maybe there's private evidence. No, private evidence isn't a thing. You can't just say that. You can't just say, oh, we need evidence. We can't show you any, but we have some. Trust us. No, I don't trust you. I'm sorry. You're the Democratic Party, and you're the FBI. You're the deep state. I'm gonna trust you. No, you need to show evidence, guys. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years since they've been doing this whole Russia investigation scam. It's been 2 years. And every step of the way, they've said, oh, we can't show the evidence right now. We will be able to later on, but we can't right now. It's been 2 years, guys. When does the time come that you can show your evidence? And you know what's like, with all these leaks, how come no one's leaking this so-called evidence? We have all these leaks about, oh, James Comey's memos. Oh, here's a transcript of a phone conversation. Oh, leaks. All these leaks. How come we have all these leaks, and yet not one of them is leaking the actual evidence that they claim to have about Russia? They say they have evidence. They claim they have evidence. They say, oh, we just can't show it right now. Okay. But how come there's been no leaks? How come? So, I don't believe they have any evidence. Or I believe that they have something, but it's still just, there's no substance. Like the report they came out with, way, like a long time ago. Well, like, by a long time ago, I mean months ago. But I mean, maybe it was like December, where people were asking, okay, FBI, CIA, where is your proof that Russia meddled in the election? Where's your proof? And they went, oh, you want proof? Okay, here's your proof. So they released a little document, and the document was just stating motive. No, you need motive, you need means, and then you need the actual evidence itself. You just said motive. You said, oh yeah, Trump and, they said, yeah, Putin and Hillary, they don't like each other, and, Russia has computers, and yeah, and Trump said Putin's a good guy, so, duh, put it together. I mean, come on, put it together, obviously, right? Like, no, that's not evidence. What is that? They spent like half the document just bashing RT for no reason. RT is to Russia what BBC is to Britain. They always say, oh, RT, Kremlin state propaganda website, state-run media. Yeah, so is BBC. You gonna go after BBC? No, because they're mostly independent. They're just technically owned by the government. Are you gonna go after BBC and say, oh, come on. They all consider BBC to be a reliable source, and so do I. Are they gonna now say, oh, BBC, British state propaganda website, all that crown propaganda, we don't want any of that here? No one says that, because BBC is a reliable, normal, it's just a standard news site, right? And so is RT. The people who go after RT and say, oh, RT is a Kremlin propaganda website, have probably never been on RT. Like, RT is not is not this Russian propaganda. I mean, sure, there's a pro-government bias, but there's a pro-government bias with BBC as well, because they're government-owned. So obviously, they're going to have a bias. But if you want to go after RT, well then be consistent and go after BBC too, because it's the same thing. But no, they go after RT, and they leave BBC alone. Why? Because they just hate Russia. And I don't know, I mean, I'd say I don't know why. I kinda do. I have an idea as to why. Because all these people, I've said it before, they grew up in like the 1980s and the 70s, where the Cold War was going on, and like Russia was like our biggest threat. And like they're all so old and like out of touch that they don't really understand that like the Cold War's over. They don't really get it. They don't really understand that. So they say the Russian dictator, the Putin regime. No, Putin is democratically elected. You don't like he's an elected official. Putin regime. Get that out of it. Come on. These guys, they're not serious. It's like they're writing a book. They're writing like some sort of like political thriller novel about Russia and America. It's all like intrigue and we got subversion here. We've got all this, spies and agents, Russian agents. Oh, it's so cool, right? They're making this narrative. It's like a movie plot. None of it's true. You can't prove any of it. Oh my god, it's so ridiculous. And you know what I've realized? This is something that's disturbed me in a major way. You guys know Keith Olbermann? Keith Olbermann is a guy who does a YouTube show. He used to work for MSNBC. I don't know if he left or if he got fired. I don't know how he ended up leaving MSNBC. But now he has a YouTube show called The Resistance. It used to be called The Closer. Now this is the weirdest thing, right? Keith Olbermann's show, The Resistance, it seems to be an indicator of what will the mainstream narrative be in a few months. I've noticed this, right? So, you can go back to when the show first started, back in November, right? He used to have a show, The Closer. That was his show during the election. The election ended, and Trump won, and he changed it to the Resistance. It was the same format, same style, but he just changed the name. But think about that. He was saying that in November, the Resistance. The Resistance as a movement, as an organization, wasn't a thing until like January, or like February. So that came off to me as very strange, that he had his show name, and that became the name of the Democrats, their so-called movement. That became their name, and that was his show's name. Isn't that odd? Isn't that strange? And then I noticed that, like, whatever he would say on his show, at the time, right, it would be considered to be, like, crazy, right? Like, back then, he was the first one to ever say, Russia hacked the election. And back then, that was, like, crazy talk, right? Like, oh my god, Russia hacked the election? Are you serious? But then, a month later, it became the standard liberal talking point. That became normal to them. Then, Keith Olbermann, before anyone said anything, he started to talk about collusion. Before anyone else. And everyone said, oh, collusion? Come on now. Come on, Keith. Oh, come on, you're crazy. Collusion? Come on. Keith, come on, you're crazy. And then, the liberal narrative became collusion. Then, Keith started talking about interference, or what was it? Obstruction of justice. He started talking about obstruction. And then everyone said, "Oh, come on, Keith, obstruction. Come on, Keith, stay real. Come on, Keith, obstruction. No, you're crazy." And then, obstruction became the liberal talking point. And then his talking point became Trump is mentally unstable, mentally unfit to hold office. And everyone said, "Oh, come on! I mean, that's just too far. I mean, come on, mentally unfit to hold office. Come on, too far. Just calm down. Come on, Keith. That's just going too far. That's just low." And now we have Democrats talking about invoking the 25th Amendment because he's mentally unstable and mentally unfit to hold office. It seems to it always seems to go from Keith Olbermann to Maxine Waters to the New York Times and then to the mainstream. That seems to be the cycle. It's very, very odd. Because this whole Russia thing was a Keith Olbermann talking point. Right? At first it was a Hillary campaign talking point. Where she said it during the debates, stuff like that. By the way, I love how this whole thing. You have to remember, this is a Hillary campaign talking point. You know how this started? This was a deflection from Hillary's emails, the leaked emails. This was their way of deflecting. Just think about it. We had all these emails leak, and yet they've never been a mainstream thing. The emails, the leaked emails. We never got to look into them. There was never a mainstream conversation about the content of the emails. They leaked, and then Hillary's defense was, "Oh, Russia." And then what happened? The media started going Russia. So it's been it's been so long now. It's been over a year now, and we still haven't had any major national conversation about the content of the emails. And yet we're still talking about her deflection from the content of the emails. I mean, how sad. They say, right, in this article here by Politico magazine, they suggest that these email leaks were meant to be a distraction from the Access Hollywood tapes. Are you guys actually saying now that these emails where there's policy, substance, and actual facts and actual indications about how she will govern and about what she actually believes, you're saying that Trump talking about sex on tape with his friend 10 years ago is more important than the policy substance of the Hillary leaked emails? Are they saying that? And it's so sad because this happened again last week, where we had Kate's Law. Kate's Law passed in Congress, and the media, there was no coverage at all of this policy that was being passed in Congress. No coverage. You know what they were covering? They were covering Trump's Morning Joe tweet. And then there was a tweet from some CNN anchor. And it was the smuggest, most snarky thing I've ever seen in my life. See, Bill O'Reilly tweeted out, he was like, I wonder why, he was like, all these news people, right? No one in the media is covering Kate's Law tonight. I wonder why. And then some snarky, smug CNN anchor replied to him and said, "Yeah, I wonder why." Duh. Obviously, it's because of these Morning Joe tweets, right? Duh. Oh my God, they're saying that they can't cover policy because these tweets are more important. Guys, they're fake news. The mainstream media, it's just like a tabloid. It's like celebrity news. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing. He tweeted that out like he was proud of it. Like, oh yeah, my network is the best network. You know why? Because we cover the real issues. We don't cover any of that Kate's Law. We don't cover any of that policy. No. We cover the real issues that matter. We cover Trump saying that Mika from Morning Joe had a facelift. That's our coverage. Aren't we so great? No, you're not great. You're awful. You're embarrassing. The whole mainstream media is just completely embarrassing. And honestly, at this point, we should start taking action. And we should have CNN's press credentials pulled. Because I don't want to see them anymore. I don't want to see any of these disgusting news outlets being taken seriously anymore by anyone.